Natural Products Expo East.
Right?
Let's hear
Heck
it
yeah.
from everyone. I'm Jessica Rubino. I'm the Vice President of Content here at New Hope, joined by Eric Pierce and Nancy Coulter-Parker. Hi.
Hello. Happy to be here with you guys.
So excited to be here. We have a live studio. We've been broadcasting. We have many cameras. It's amazing. This is a real professional operation we have here. So we've been broadcasting live every day at 2 p.m. Yesterday we had the Nexty Award winners announced live.
Fun.
We have some judges here. We'll talk about some of those award winners, some of the cool trends we saw. And then we'll also have a LinkedIn Live tomorrow as well, because Saturday at Expo East this year is going to be off the chain. If you're tuning in, we have Jay Shetty in the house tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. More woos.
Oh, yes, of course. Sorry.
It's a day of woos. Why
Yes,
not?
yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. So the energy has been absolutely fantastic here at Expo East. What's your impression been over the past couple of days?
It's been great. I mean, people are super happy. Things like, we had Harvest Festival the first day. It was packed. We've had the show floor is busy and packed today. I think the education has been well attended. So it's just been really fun, and people are really happy to be here, and people are doing business and really, really happy.
Yes, I agree.
So it is. It's exciting.
And you mentioned education. We have education on the show floor this year
That's
for
fun.
the first time, really, to have all this education. Our big stage, our keynote stage, is in the Innovation Experience area, Hall A of the show floor. You've been at a lot of education today.
I've been at a lot of
Yeah.
education, yeah. But nobody mentioned ping pong. You guys are talking about the energy of the show, and there was no mention of
My
ping
hand-eye
pong.
coordination
Yeah.
kind of eliminates me from that. But
I'll tell you, some people were throwing
They were.
down in
Yeah.
the ping pong area. We had a ping pong tournament yesterday, brands and retailers coming together to compete, and everyone was, no, ping pong's a highlight, for sure.
It's a
Eric.
lot of fun. There's definitely different energy on the show floor, in part because we're just trying some different stuff, which is a really big lead into the excitement that we have building for next year. And again, integrating the content onto the show floor, having ping pong, more places to sit and network,
Yes.
creating a different environment, again, kind of as a test for what we really want to do big and different next year with Newtopia Now.
Newtopia Now. So if you have not heard about Newtopia Now, it will be our new show next year in early August in Savannah, Georgia. This is our last Natural Products Expo East, so very bittersweet. But as Eric mentioned, we're trying so many things here in Philadelphia this year that will give people a little taste of the interactive elements that we'll bring to the show floor. We're going to have a neighborhood concept. We'll have content interspersed throughout that. It's going to be really, really special there too. So I love the fact that the community is coming here to celebrate an amazing nearly 4 decades of Expo East, and then ready to really reimagine what our events can be. So we're very excited about that.
And I think just, near the ping pong, we've also had the innovation experience, which is sort of newer, companies and companies with, new and exciting ideas that they're highlighting. We've had interviews, we've been doing video interviews with all the founders from those companies, which has been really fun. And so I think that, and then also in the middle of the show floor, we have the organic park, but we have sort of like this interactive, science fair adventure that people can kind of fill out. It's like a scavenger hunt, and I think all of these things are just great at kind of creating that energy and creating conversation, really just sort of allowing for people to connect in a different way.
Totally agree. Let's talk about what you've been seeing in the innovation experience. So those fireside chats are so much fun.
They've been so much fun.
I love the companies that are in the innovation experience.
Yeah.
They're just companies that are, a lot of them are earlier stage brands, doing really exciting things, very purposeful companies. What are some of the ones that have stood out through those chats?
I think a couple, one was Snoods, and that's just like ramen revisited, more of like a snackified ramen treat, and they just have great energy, and it's a really tasty product, and they're young women that we interviewed, which was so much fun to talk to. But then we also have, I had a woman with the women's, sort of more on the new women's health products, and so there's sort of this. It was a new Be-Free cup and period cup, and I also want to say we're seeing a lot of women's products being talked about, and whether it's for menstruation, whether it's for hormones, whatever. But it's just been great to see that whole category kind of finally, we're talking about it, which is really important. And so that was one of the women I talked to yesterday. And then there's another one called Tidbits, where we just couldn't stop eating them. They were like kind of little gummies, but they don't stick to your teeth, and they were really tasty. So I know that was something that was a hit with the group too. So those are my highlights from there for sure.
Eric, now what about you? You've been participating in a lot of education.
Yep.
You've led some great sessions, and I know that you're particularly focused on DEI here at the show and some of those conversations. So tell us more.
Yeah, we had a really good conversation with our panelists yesterday. We were trying something a little bit new. It was designed to be a thought exercise for our attendees, but also really stimulating conversation from the panelists. It was fun to see what emerged. I'm curious to hear what emerged for each of our attendees, because the intent was to allow people to find their own experience. But I think there's a need right now to re-energize some of our DE&I initiatives and programs, and so we were trying to use the panel as a way of helping each individual think through how they might find new energy or new ways of engaging. And it was fun to see some of what emerged in that conversation. For me, in the conversation, even though I moderated and planned the whole thing, there were still new things emerging for me in the conversation. And one that struck me really interestingly was, we talked about short-term profit motivation being a real challenge to DEI programs, in part because so many of our programs and initiatives are kind of built in a silo. They've got somebody who's leading this program, there's some efforts, but they aren't fully integrated, say if you're a retailer, across the buyer and into finance and throughout the leadership program. So what we found is that maybe there's declining energy, or there's a disconnect. You do a really good job of bringing in diverse owned brands and getting them on shelf, but then because everyone isn't aligned and bought into it, you have the same performance expectations for every other brand being placed on those DEI brands without pausing to say, what's the intent of our DEI program? What's the intent of bringing in these brands? It might be a longer term play of cultivating and bringing in a more diverse audience and making sure that you have the right product set for them. But if you bring them in and then expect them to turn with the same velocity as the top performer in the category, you're probably setting them up for failure. And so I hope there were other opportunities like that for people to kind of see the connection for themselves and figure out where that new energy or new idea for the program may come from. For me, I hope that those who have the programs are thinking about how they could sustain them by integrating them more throughout the business as opposed to just having them stand on their own. And so that was a big insight for me. The panel was really excited to just help people remember that demographically, there are massive shifts going on within the U.S., and if we aren't adapting now to the cultural changes that are happening, that we're going to simply be left behind.
And you're not going to meet your customer, right?
Yeah.
If you're not,
yeah.
It's not.
The big number that came from Nielsen IQ and our panelists was just a reminder that by 2060, 50% of the population is going to be from a diverse background, and if we're not meeting that now and moving in that direction, we're already falling behind.
And I love that you're leading those conversations, Eric, and I think that the way that you're doing it to get people to really reflect on how they're applying this thinking to their business, what they need in order to do it effectively, I think that's really important work. So thank you for that. And we have been covering, we have DEI on the corporate level, and then we're also seeing that it's such a big trend, the diversity of founders on the show floor. It's not even a trend. How could you possibly call that a trend? It's a shift that's really critical to serving our diverse communities. And so one of the topics that we're talking a lot about is heritage-rooted foods.
Yes.
That's what we're calling it. And so it really goes beyond this kind of surface-level exploration of ingredients and flavors, and much more into authentically bringing the culture of different founders to the CPG industry. I'm so excited by what Jake DeLeon is doing from Philo Manila. We joke, we talk about him all the time, but he's an amazing founder, and he's also supporting other founders who are looking to authentically bring their culture to their products and companies and really sharing those amazing stories. So that's definitely one of the big themes that I'm most inspired inspired by here in Philly? What about you?
Well, and I was just going to say, with that, the flavors on this floor. I mean, there's just such a variety of foods, and the like international flavors, the spices. That I mean, I just love it. It's like every we have savory, sweets, but from every dimension. So
all
it's
over the world.
It's really
so
really
cool.
fun.
Yeah.
So.
I love seeing you guys light up about that because
Yeah.
I think that's the next stage of DEI, to be honest. There are systemic issues that we need to address with big systems change. And there is also the potential of individual entrepreneurs that we all have the opportunity to impact. And when you light up about Jake, and when I had this experience with Bollywood, this amazing Indian flavored sparkling lemonades and limeades, you also have this potential to see the potential of the individuals that we can support and really allow to give space and impact our communities and impact our food system. And I think in some ways that's a missing piece often from the DEI conversation, is just thinking about the individuals that we can impact and the ripple effects of that on our society and our industry and our ability to create impact.
Yeah.
So Eric, that's a good segue for me to talk a little bit about organic and the regenerative organic certification.
Organic, I will. Yeah.
Well, because it's really exciting to see regenerative organic certification is really taking off, and they've crossed the 1 million acre converted, landmark, and I mean they're on their way to quadrupling that. And so people are really engaging, and it's not just like Herb Farm or like brands and products, but it's also companies like Dubon that are, certified like rock gold. I mean, they've really a lot of these supply ingredient companies are really leaning into the certification.
And what does Dubon do for those who don't?
So Dubon's a palm oil company based in Colombia, and so I mean, we easily wouldn't think they're doing that, but they've had so many. They're certified organic, and their regenerative efforts are really fantastic, and they're creating that circular economy. And so I think also just that importance of there are palm oil companies here, who are really looking, you really want to look for that sustainable palm, and when you have that rock certification, you're really showing that you are doing that.
Yeah.
You can't, there's no way around it. And so
in some of these unexpected categories.
Right, exactly. Like I'm seeing a lot in sort of ingredient suppliers, and then organic is also just growing. I mean, you see it everywhere now. A lot of these, emerging companies are just organic. Like, it's sort of not a question anymore. It's just like, yeah, no, that's part of it. We're going to do that. And so.
And I think we heard, maybe someone could fact check us, that someone might be Jess Elliott, but I think that every company in the Pitch Slam was organic. That's
that might
what
have,
I
I
heard.
think so
need
too.
to
And that's what
double
people were
check.
saying. They were so excited about that because,
Yes.
and I know the winner was for sure. And that's just sort of, and I think that's again like having this sort of organic park. We've had beekeepers from Philadelphia over in the organic park. That's kind of fun to see.
Yeah.
But just those conversations are really, and I think with regenerative and organic, just the importance of those two being together. It does take into consideration animal welfare that we're seeing. A lot of people are talking about the human factor, right, and the people involved in bringing us these products. And I think those conversations are super important. On a more technical side, I had an Inside Organic session yesterday where we had Dr. Jenny Tucker, we had Jeff Catch from Rodale Institute, and then we had Tom Chapman from the Organic Trade Association talking about, we've got a farm bill coming out this year. We're waiting to hear what's going to happen for that. That does affect our industry, as well as the strengthening organic enforcement rule, which is really tackling fraud. That's sort of in the works, where companies are having to get in line with that by next March. And so they were, kind of talking about some of these bigger, more, regulatory issues, but important.
Has to keep
They have
the
to.
pulse of that,
Right.
because these regulatory issues
They're big. They will impact,
brands,
right?
Will impact retailers.
Yes.
We also had that in our supplement symposium yesterday on the supplement
Right.
side of things. We had Steve Mister there to talk about regulatory issues around dietary supplements. So I appreciate that we bring that element to Expo to make sure that companies are planning their businesses based on some of these things that will have, or at least being able to react and hopefully stay ahead of some of these issues. So.
And that regulation brings the quality that these products have that are here, right? Like that's what's so beautiful about this industry too, is just that attention to, quality and all the processes that go into that.
So let's talk about that for a second. I'm curious if you two have thoughts on this. Seeing a lot more conversation, let's get back to regenerative and regenerative organic around the most
Yes.
importantly,
Yep.
around the health benefits of produce that is grown regeneratively, the impact of the soil not only on the environment and soil quality on environment, but on the finished product. And I think that's going to be a huge game changer for both the organic and the regenerative organic industries to say, yes, this is beneficial to the environment. And there's now proof that these products made with that produce is
more nutrient dense.
Yes.
Yeah, I would love to name the resource. Tina Owens from the Nutrient Density Alliance was on the stage this morning at the Innovation Experience talking about taste, quality, health, and nutrition.
Yes.
There's all huge consumer selling points for any food and beverage or supplement product. Personal care important as well, not the taste piece. But anyways, how these selling points haven't been leveraged as heavily as they now could be, especially with the science that's emerging.
And I know the Rodale Institute too has kind of this growing, standing research that they've been doing on this exact topic, conventional versus organic produce, and they are getting data points now that are really showing that there are key differences. It's really exciting. I think that's the thing that's always been the tag. People have come after organic, like where's the research, and now we really have it. With the Amber Scaligo from the Organic Center has been here as well, and she's sort of that research guru. She was actually sharing me, she's a real bee nut, and she was talking to me about, I had no idea that like the male bees sleep on the plants, like the female bees, honeybees go back to like a nest, and like the guys are left to kind of sleep on their own on the plants for night. I had no idea. No, she likes to watch the bees. So, but
You're kind of like
I'm maybe a little bit like that.
I
I think I might have to, go home and watch the bees in my garden. But I think she's just got so much research on their site, and a lot, consumer facing. So that's exciting. There's a lot of this research coming out that is allowing also on, climate change, how organic can help to mitigate some of the, things we're hitting with climate change, soil health, and organic is really resilient, so it's like, I think that's what we're seeing, and these studies coming out are just helping to change that messaging. So it's not just no pesticides, there's just a broader spectrum of the benefits that we can really now talk about, and it's being backed. So that's fun to see.
Nancy Coulter-Parker, not at all passionate
I know,
about
right?
the organic conversation. Eric, other things that you're seeing out there, let's talk maybe any other trends or companies that you think represent bigger movements in the natural products industry.
Staying a little bit on the organic space, but going smaller scale into regenerative organic or the broader regenerative theme. One of the things that I feel is really interesting that's emerging, maybe it's always been there and it's emerging for me, but I think it's something that maybe our industry is beginning to invite into the conversation, is a broader view and a broader understanding of what regenerative is and can mean beyond just the agricultural aspect. Of course, we need to spend more time thinking about that and working there. But it's fun to me to think about regenerative business models, where we think about how do we heal more than just the soil, and I think that the timing might be right for that conversation to begin to emerge. And at the intersection of agriculture and this broader conversation, TerraGenesis led a really interesting working session yesterday afternoon that opened up something for me that I had never thought about before. The big challenge for so many in the regenerative space is this perception that consumers don't yet understand it well enough to warrant the price premium, and the businesses aren't always able to absorb what they see as this increased cost of doing something as regeneratively as they want. And part of what was emerging in this conversation, Jessica, is also similar to one you and I have had about this bigger theme of collaboration. They talked about cross-crop collaboration as key to bringing down the cost of regenerative.
Right.
If you're building a truly regenerative ecosystem, you might well have opportunities for intercrop plantings and different things like that. And yes, maybe I am a company and I've got one key ingredient that I want to be regenerative. If I'm thinking in isolation about how I get that one ingredient regenerative, I miss out on the opportunity. I carry all the weight. When I bring in a more collaborative set of stakeholders into thinking about how we solve the problem, we suddenly see that actually the Three Sisters planting system or whatever, somebody else can sell the two other sisters, and that can reduce the cost for everybody and maybe get us back in line with what a consumer would be willing and able to pay. okay. And so
Yeah.
I just think there's so much more to evolve and come to light in this conversation.
And then there's that the
I'm excited
collaboration
about.
piece, right? Which I think is also really fun with when we think about Naturally Network, just growing across the country and allowing and facilitating for that collaboration across the industry too. I think it's a really
Yeah.
positive platform.
And another piece you said there that I want to bring up because we've heard this a lot today, which I'm very excited about, is people paying attention to access
Yes.
and how important
Yeah.
it is to focus on accessibility. This came up in the context of innovation, where
Mm-hmm.
someone on stage earlier said, innovation just does not matter if you're not getting it out there in a way
Right.
that people can access
Right.
and afford.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to responsible innovation, which
Yes.
is a big picture theme here, for me, what's most important is that we think about innovation that truly acts as a force for greater accessibility. So
Right.
Yeah, Mike Lee in his talk this morning talked about what if I don't remember the exact context, but what resonated to me was he invited people to think about what if we designed with a different end goal, and what if the end goal was a food system that elevates ourselves and our environment, right? And if we were thinking about, also like what incentives are we using to create action? If access and inclusion and nutrition for everybody
Right.
was part of that goal, I think, and if we were using, again, diverse sets of stakeholders, not just my business and my marketing and my finance team, I'm thinking like deep collaboration with community members and those that are impacted, I think we'll start seeing new solutions to problems and new
Yes.
potential that if access had a seat at the table, we would find the solution outside of the simple way we look at it today, which is like, how do I get my price down to a place where it's accessible? We need new ways of thinking, new paradigms for solving problems to open up these opportunities.
Yes. Give access a seat at the table, which means bring more people into the conversation for
And-
making these decisions. I think we're about out of time. I mean, we could talk
Oh, yeah.
for
Ever.
really.
This-
There would be no end. Are there any questions coming in or comments that anyone has? Not sure if you guys are on LinkedIn Live. Any questions, comments, things? So if you're seeing something, please share with us on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear what you're seeing. Hopefully some people have been tuning in from home and other people are here at Expo. A couple things, go check out the Innovation Experience, and we have a museum concept next to the Innovation Experience. I bring that up because so many of the issues that we're talking about now, regenerative, food waste, access, all of these things, you can dig into them in the Innovation Experience.
And you can
Museum.
record
And
what
you can record.
what you think is responsible innovation. So there is a setup there. Go tell us what you think responsible innovation is.
There's a little iPad, go over here, click record. Don't forget about Jay Shetty.
Yes.
Tomorrow morning, he's going to talk all about why to keep humanity at the center of your innovation strategies. He is incredible. I'm just finishing up his book, 8 Rules of Love. I've already quoted it many times. I'm like, well, let me tell you about the 4th rule of love. I'm the expert now. It's really, really a great book, and he's going to be awesome. And then tonight, we have Wyclef performing here at Expo East. Any final words?
Oh my gosh, I didn't get a chance. Go see Recoup if you're in the building. ROC certified BIPOC founder using maple water and ginger in a hydration product. So cool.
Yes, yeah.
Very unique find. So that's my product tip that I didn't get to sneak in.
I've seen a lot of hazelnuts. I've seen a lot of plant-based cheese. But and then this Walker Brothers blueberry jasmine kombucha. I don't know. I love the way they flavored that. They're from Nashville, brothers from Nashville, Tennessee. But I'm not a big stevia person, so like it hit the spot. That was good.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank
Such
you.
a pleasure. Thank you all. If you have questions about Newtopia Now, about Expo East, anything, please reach out to us here on LinkedIn. Go to the sales office if you're here at the show and have questions. Find one of us. We may not be in the sales office, but people who tell you about Newtopia Now will be, and all of our content team will be roaming the show floor and checking out all the latest and greatest trends. So please share with us what you're seeing, and thanks for tuning in to today's Midday Mashup. And check us out tomorrow, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
All right.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We've already come a long way, but we've got further to go. And together, there's no telling where we can go. Because one voice can sing a note,